Welcome back everyone, I'm Michael and today we're back with some more Reddit stories. Make sure to like and subscribe and let's begin. This first post is from a user named FewRelative4595. The post was made in the AITAH subreddit just a week ago. It's titled AITAH for ghosting my girlfriend after she nearly killed both of us. So my girlfriend, 20, and I, 22 male, have been together for a little over 10 months now. We haven't had any heated arguments or fights, except for the fact that she keeps tickling me randomly despite me repeatedly telling her never to do it again because I can act strangely to it. Something from my childhood that I won't delve into. Now, to get to the current situation. This week, I've had my car returned from a paint job and some major look changes, and I was really satisfied with the results. So I took a day off from work and took my girlfriend on a short trip outside the city. We drove to a lake, ate some food, and relaxed for a couple of hours until it got pretty dark. We decided to head back home to get some sleep as I had to go to work the next day, and she had an exam. On the way home, I started talking about how happy I felt with how the paint job turned out, and out of nowhere, she started tickling me. I pushed her hand away and told her to stop, then she reached for my ribs with both hands and got me swerving off the road. Thankfully, nobody was hurt, although my car got some deep scratches, but that doesn't even matter anymore. I already slowed down after her first attempt to tickle me. I'll admit that I told her, "What the f is wrong with you?" as soon as we stepped out of the car and she started crying, but I couldn't care less as I felt as if my veins were about to pop. When we got home, I told her to pack her things and go to her best friend, but she threw a tantrum and begged me to forgive her for a little mistake. I didn't say a word. I stared in disgust and pointed to her luggage. After her friend picked her up, I tried to sleep, but my mind was racing, so I barely got any rest. This happened on Tuesday and she's been blowing up my phone ever since, but I haven't answered any calls or texts and just blocked her. This led to her friend coming to my house and telling me to at least hear my girlfriend out, but I told her to off and leave me alone, which made her tell me that I was more in love with a car than with my girlfriend. So AITAH in this situation. Should I talk to my girlfriend? I already feel like I can't trust her after what happened and that our relationship can't be fixed. This is overall just a strange situation. The fact that OP's GF is obsessed with tickling him is bizarre. I don't necessarily think OP is being an AH in this situation, especially since he has told his GF to stop with the tickling. There is something very messed up in that woman's head to make her think it was okay to tickle OP while he was driving. Not distracting, let alone touching, someone while they're driving is something even children understand. I recently covered another Reddit story where a user's GF was also pushing boundaries and triggering their trauma. One user named AlternativeBeat2498 made a good point. They said, "I think the bigger problem here and why OP is so rightly upset is that she decided to tickle him knowing full well that he didn't like it. Why, when he was feeling good and flying high about his new car's paint job, did she feel the need to bring him down and annoy him? Why was he feeling good? Something she felt she needed to put an end to. I think we forgive innocent mistakes and even gross stupidity when they are genuinely innocent. But there seems to be a whiff of malevolence here, and that's why the OP is so annoyed." Within 24 hours of making that first post, OP provided an update. So the past couple of hours have been insane. Before the actual update, I just wanted to sort some things out. I've seen people talking about this post being rage bait or fake. Honestly, I wish it was, but I actually needed to hear some opinions on what happened. Some people talked about me having anger issues. This is not true at all. I never snapped at her like this for tickling me, let alone hitting her or anything like that. But in the rage of the moment, I couldn't keep my mouth shut. I might consider myself to be a calm person, but that doesn't mean I will laugh and giggle through stupid stuff. The actual crash happened at a speed that could have killed us if I swerved in the wrong direction. I was driving on a country road and could have frontally hit a car coming from the other direction. The speed at which the crash happened was around 40 miles per hour. As for the tickling part and childhood trauma, I've mentioned that to my now ex-girlfriend around 3 months into our relationship. But as many pointed out, I wasn't dating the sharpest tool in the shed, and it took me a while to realize it, so I guess I might be a bit dumb as well. I think I might have misused the term ghosting. In my head, telling her to get out of my house was already a clear sign of our relationship status. Now, to the actual update. After reading nearly all the comments, I decided to send my ex a message, telling her we should meet face to face. Some people suggested that I should file a lawsuit, but my ex is still in college and her parents can barely afford to help her. She obviously has done an insanely dumb stunt, but I don't want to punish her parents for it. The car is in the process of getting fixed and I can afford it without major financial issues. Still, I took screenshots of her messages in order for me to have some proof in case the situation escalates. So we met earlier at a coffee shop. She looked as if she's been crying for a long time, but it didn't change my mind at all. What shocked me was the fact that she leaned in for a kiss when she saw me, as if nothing happened. I stopped her and told her that we needed to have a serious conversation. I explained that what happened wasn't because of the car itself, but because of her disrespecting my boundaries and not thinking for a second about what might happen if she did that thing. Besides that, I also felt disrespected by the fact that her best friend came knocking at my door to demand things, despite not having any right to do so. This led me to ask my ex if she told her best friend the truth or lied about the situation. She said that she only told her friend that we had a small car crash and I'm pissed at her. Hearing that made me feel disappointed as hell, but I did my best to remain calm. I told her to tell the real story to her friends and family, and she raised her voice and told me that I was accusing her of being a liar. This led to a 15-minute discussion about how the crash was solely her fault and how she put our lives at risk. I asked her if everything was clear to her about our situation, and her response was, "Yep, 100%. Can we go home now?" That honestly shocked me. I told her there was no way we could be back together and suggested she should be more careful and considerate with her future partner. Her reaction was all tears and shaking. She begged me to reconsider my decision, but I just can't look at her the same. I explained again that for me, it wasn't a small mistake she made. It was a full-on stupid decision that shouldn't be made by an adult, as it could have resulted in something deadly. She thinks I'm exaggerating, and this back and forth argument led to her asking if there's someone else in my life and if I'm just using the accident as an excuse. I denied it and told her that she was too selfish to even realize that she had broken my trust and disrespected me by saying this crap. I left the coffee shop feeling like I'd been talking to a wall, but at least I can't say that I didn't try to have a conversation. An hour ago, her mom texted me asking what happened, and I told her everything. I said that I didn't want any money from them, but the only thing I asked was for my ex to keep her distance from me. She apologized for what her daughter did and wished me all the best. As for her friend, she just came to my house without talking with my ex about whether she should do it or not, so she just tried to be the main character in this whole story. Right now, I'm preparing for work, but my chest isn't heavy anymore. In case anything happens in the future, I'll keep everyone updated, but I hope it won't be the case. Thank you for helping me navigate this weird situation, and thanks for all the kind messages. Hope everyone stays safe. Edit. Sorry if this wasn't the drama-filled update some people might have expected, but I came here with the desire to get some perspective on my situation and be as transparent as possible. I never intended to post this story for votes or anything like that. Again, I'm going to reference that other story I covered. This is like an alternate reality version of that story. In this particular situation, OP cut ties early, which is exactly what he should have done. Sure, it's possible that OP gets back with his GF and they live happily ever after, but there's also the possibility that she continues to violate his boundaries and OP gets stuck in a frustrating relationship. What kind of a relationship is one where you can't even trust your partner? That's the kind of situation OP may have gotten into. Right now, it's just tickling, but in the future, this can evolve into something more serious. And like OP said, maybe his GF wasn't the smartest girl around, so she doesn't realize the full extent of what she did. One user named Saitama Hit Rick Sanchez made a similar comment. My ex-wife exhibited this behavior. OP was right to leave. This woman has a deeply flawed worldview, and it's only going to get worse and more dangerous the older she gets. If anyone who is reading this has the same problem as OP's ex, you better take this next statement to heart. If you can't listen to other people and consider their feelings or respect their boundaries, and you're not willing to develop self-awareness and seek mental health help for your severe behavioral issue, you can expect every single one of your personal relationships to end in disastrous failures. Your life will be a nightmare unless you actually put in the hard work to overcome this. My ex-wife was about 37 to 39 when we met and 44 or 45 by the time I divorced her. I told her many times how much her behavior hurt me and how I would have to leave if she didn't stop. But she just kept hurting me anyway and then complained I was just being dramatic or was too unforgiving, and that was the real problem between us. She got a decade of forgiveness while being reminded of my boundaries. Once I had enough and she made it clear I was nothing more to her than an emotional garbage can, I was out. The next story we'll be taking a look at is from the AITAH public subreddit. It was posted about a month ago by user alarmingad4419. It's titled WIBTA for losing empathy for my traumatized husband. My husband, 28, and I, 24, female, have been together for 4 years. Since the start, he has been insecure about cheating. He was viciously cheated on in his previous relationship and blamed it on that. I have never cheated on him, nor has he ever found anything to even assume I was cheating. I used to be empathetic towards his insecurities as I have been cheated on too. However, for the past 2 years, I have been losing said empathy. After pulling my phone records and going through all my contacts last summer, he went to therapy for a month or two, and his episodes of accusing me have decreased but not stopped. I have been in therapy since January, and he is the one who brought up going to individual therapy for both of us. However, he has yet to get back into therapy, and he continues to accuse me of cheating. We are also in couples counseling, which hasn't necessarily been overly helpful. He keeps saying that he has gotten better with accusations, so I should just be more patient with him since he is my husband. Our last fight was a few nights ago. We were being intimate, which is a struggle since I have low libido, and he said my breast tasted like wintergreen Copenhagen. Then he found / tasted a piece on me and accused me of cheating. This obviously ruined our intimacy, and he kept asking for an explanation. I told him I did not have one. Besides, I was hiking in the forest earlier that day, and maybe I had a pine needle on me. He didn't accept this answer and went to bed upset. However, he didn't bring it back up. When we discussed this in couples therapy, I acknowledged that he didn't escalate this fight and didn't bring it back up, which was an improvement from his past episodes. He still accused me in therapy and said I could have been with another man in the forest. Our therapist pointed out that this was quite silly and suggested that if I were cheating, I probably would have showered. My husband said that was true, but said he has learned not to trust people. I am so tired of being accused. It hurts so bad, and he doesn't acknowledge the pain it causes. He also doesn't get help for the issues and has excuses as to why he hasn't done therapy yet. He is upset at me because I told him I no longer have empathy for him and this issue. AITAH. OP's husband is not ready for a relationship. He literally said that he has learned to not trust people. If you can't trust anyone, why are you married to someone? It's not like OP was hiding any information. In fact, she shared all of her phone records and was transparent about all of her contacts. If OP was refusing to let her husband in on her records when asked, then I would kind of understand the concern. But again, that's just not the case here. OP has done all she needs in the relationship, in my opinion. Her partner opened up about his trauma, and she worked with him and respected his boundaries. But it seems no level of respect is going to work for him. He just needs lots and lots of individual therapy. Not exactly related since it's in the past, but I'm curious just how bad this man was cheated on for him to act like this. About 3 weeks later, OP created an update. Thank you all for your advice and responses. I greatly appreciate and went through each one. Here is an update. A few nights ago, he had asked where I had gone. I was confused as I had not gone anywhere. He proceeds to say my car was backed in the driveway and now is pulled in. I don't back in unless I have groceries. I said I didn't go anywhere. He thought my answers were weird and that I was acting weird, but he left it alone. Later that night, I initiated hand-holding and cuddling. It was late and I said, I am going to bed and I love you. He hesitated to give me goodnight kisses, but he did it anyway. A few moments later, he takes a shower at 10 p.m. at night, which he hasn't done before. I assume he is taking care of business himself. During this time, I say a prayer and say, this feels weird. Give me a sign if this is weird. When he gets out of the shower, he gets back in bed and then taps me. He proceeds to say he is done and I am crushing his soul. He added that this is because I don't initiate sex and am disrespectful. He says I am selfish. In couples therapy last week, he said he only needs once a month and will take other stuff as supplemental essentially. Last week, after I revealed I was molested in the past, during our therapy, I had sex with him and gave him an HJ. He says, since I've come home, I haven't tried at all to give him what he needs. I am trying my hardest. Let's not forget I take care of him, his kid, the animals, and the house. Literally everything. He wants a gold star because he has helped me with dishes more and has helped more with transporting his child to and from school and now summer camp. During couples counseling today, he said the same things and then said I was using my newly found trauma as an excuse to not have sex He also raised his voice at the therapist and said the therapist was being biased towards me and not holding me accountable. We kept going around in circles after therapy, and I finally said I was done. I can't do it anymore. I am currently packing and crying a lot. I move into my apartment on Monday. Guys, I am crushed. I am so sad. I am so confused. Godspeed. Thank you, everyone. Then, less than a week after that update, we got a second update. I went back to the house yesterday to get my animals. He was there. He tried convincing me that 6 months from now we would both be different and could make it work. I kept telling him I was done and that I was so sorry. He didn't want to accept it, but eventually did. When he accepted it, he told me I was abandoning my family and my responsibilities. He told me I gave up on them, and he left. I got my animals, and we spent our first night in the apartment. I feel some peace and freedom, but I also feel some sadness and guilt for leaving. I think this will be good though. Thank you, everyone. Your encouragement helped me stay strong and tell him no when he tried to get me back. I am trying to cope with the guilt of hurting someone I loved so much, but I am excited to start the healing process and to start taking care of myself. This was the best thing that OP could do for herself. I understand that her now ex-husband was dealing with some bad trauma, but if you're constantly playing the victim and blaming everyone else in the world, you're never going to be content or happy enough to move on with your life. In that second post, OP also informed us that she was the one taking care of everything around the house, including her husband's kid. That's crazy to me. After hearing that, it made me paint her husband in a light where he just seems like a big baby. Getting cheated on is a terrible thing. I get that, but OP also gets that. Her ex was extremely lucky to find someone who shared that same negative experience. If not for that, whoever he ended up with probably would have left him sooner. I really hope he realizes someday that maybe he is causing some of his own issues, and that getting more therapy will help him rest a bit easier in relationships. One user named Hill Mickelson brought up an interesting point. Are you even sure he was cheated on in his previous relationships and that he wasn't the one cheating on his previous partners? When he accused you of cheating, he could have just been projecting. If you know one of his previous partners, you could consider talking with them to compare their versions. I'm not sure if it was in the Lundy book I mentioned or one of the other books about abuse I read at the time, but I remember an example about an abuser who was cheating on their partner while accusing their victim of cheating. The abuser was doing this to victimize themselves, gain better control of their victim, make the victim not question that they were being cheated on, and fully trust the abuser. They wanted them to feel grateful that they found a partner who wouldn't cheat on them. This would allow the abuser to take over their privacy and isolate them from others. It would also downplay all the abuse they were suffering because they justified the abuser's behavior with the fact that the abuser was badly treated in their previous relationships. That example really stuck with me because my abuser got a girlfriend weeks after I broke up with him. Then a few months later, she called me because she was thinking about leaving him but was terrified to do it. She started to realize that he could have been lying about how my relationship with him ended and needed to know my version. Fun fact, his version and mine of our relationship were completely different. He actually painted me as the abuser to victimize himself and get her pity. He even gave her examples of things he claimed I did to him that he actually did to me. Guess what? He was doing the same things to her, and that's why she started questioning his version of our relationship.